is Mia Talks Two, and it is a jam-packed show about hurricane preparedness. And as our area feels the very, very small effects of Hurricane Sally as it is impacting the Gulf Coast and the Florida Panhandle, we are knowing how blessed we are, because usually at this time of year, we're expecting those Category 3, Category 4, Category 5 hurricanes. And I'm so excited to have the best of the Coastal Empire team, the David Pence Allstate team, to walk your family and your business through all the important safety coverages, precautions, things you need to know when it comes to hurricane season. And I'm going to give you a little secret. David Pence does something you're not going to hear anyone else in our area do when it comes to protecting customers of the David Pence Allstate Insurance team. I do want to say a big welcome and thank you. If you are watching this Mia Talks about hurricane preparedness, please share it. Please make sure you tag someone and say, hey, to the conversation. We also want you to start asking those questions right now. So if you're worried about coverages when it comes to food refrigerated, or what if trees go down at my property, those comments right now so that we can answer them as efficiently and answer as many questions as we can during this show. This show, thanks to you, has had a chance to help and serve so many people. You can actually see past talks at www.miatalks.com. And this show wouldn't be possible without the great sponsorship of the team of the David Pence Allstate team. You can learn about joining their family today. Also, the family business of Henry Plumbing Company. If your home's in a plumbing need or a plumbing situation in hurricane season or any time, you can reach them at 92352-9827. David Pence, I want you to go ahead and tell everyone about your phenomenal business, your service heart as a veteran. I've heard you have a local celebrity hanging out at your office. Feel free to share with everyone about your team and all the work that you do to serve Savannah, sir.
Well, we're definitely excited. We've been in the insurance industry for 29 years, and I was telling somebody this morning, I said, when I got in it right out of the Air Force, I said, I'll try this for 6 months and see how it goes. And of course, 29 years later, here we are. I came to Savannah in 2010 and in the Allstate team in 2015, purchased my first agency in 2015, the second one in 2018. And these ladies that you see on the screen here, Tammy Toller and Angela Watson, hey, they're well known in our community. I tell you, they without them, this agency wouldn't exist and would not exist in the success that it does. Two of the finest ladies in Savannah and two great team members, and just super glad to have them on my team. So we're glad, and the agency just rolls, and thanks to them and my other team members.
And I do, you guys, we have to share this big news. Best of the Coastal Empire. Make the noise with hearts for the David Pence Allstate Insurance. High fives, high fives, high fives. Do you want to show off the other local visitor to this talk? Bunny, can you please step on camera, please, Bunny?
Oh, okay. She's running off screen. So let's see if we can get Bunny on the screen here. So just 1 second.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Can y'all believe you won finally?
Bunny, while you're here, can you just talk about, how much it has served the community? Can you talk about what it's like to work with someone like David and how caring he is for all of Savannah?
What impressed me was when I heard that he stayed behind during the hurricane, went door to door, sent pictures back, called the people in his area. I said, who else does that? That to me, I said, you need to let people know that you're actually here. You're staying behind to see who's safe. He goes out, supports everything in the community. So I'm a big fan. I'm not supposed to be here long, so I'm running out the door, but anything to support you, Mia, of course. But congratulations, y'all.
Thanks, Bunny.
It's huge. And you guys are actually going to a little bit later this year, some time with Bunny when it comes to getting the press coverage you need. But we're going to hop right into the guts of this show that's dedicated to hurricane preparedness. I do need to say a disclaimer that anything that we talk about during this show, please contact your own insurance agent or contact the David Pence team so they can follow up with you about any specific questions. David, let's just hop right into hurricane preparedness. As we're talking about Hurricane Sally right now, Hurricane Laura, let's talk about coverages, common questions, things you want families and business owners, small business owners to know, sir.
Well, the main thing is to prepare beforehand. A lot of times, it's one of those things we think about, but it's always important before the storms get here, weeks before, sometimes months before, to make sure that you're ready to go. And I tell everyone, first of all, when it comes to your property, you want to make sure that when it comes to your property that you've already cut down those limbs, cut down those trees that are leaning over your house. Look at your gutters and see if those gutters are clogged for last fall's leaves, because those gutters are, if they are clogged, it's going to cause water issues. And then the next thing is just look around your property and see if there's anything that if you are looking at your property, what may cause a claim or what may cause a loss, and get that taken care of now. That's as far as your home's concerned. Now, if you're going to have to evacuate, would you like me to go ahead and talk about if you're going to have to evacuate, like a bunch of people, down in Mississippi and Alabama right now?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So if they give you evacuation order, and you've secured your home, okay, you want to make sure that as you're looking to leave, is that you want to have enough water per individual that's leaving with you. And they usually estimate about 3 gallons of water. And you think, well, I'm never going to need 3 gallons of water. But that water is not only drinking water, but it's also water for hygiene, because while we all think that we might be going to a great place or might have a great place to evacuate, sometimes things don't go to norm there. So we say make sure you take 3 gallons of water per person. The second thing that you want to look at is having you some type of food source that's non-perishable food. And being ex-military, one of the things that I like to say is take those MREs, or you can, down the internet, you can buy meals ready to eat that will store. And those are great when it comes time for things like this. Make sure you got your medications. You're going to be out there. We're not sure if pharmacies are open, so make sure you have those medications with you. Carry cash, small bills. So if you need those, you can, you'll have that along with you. Take your important documents, that home policy, that auto policy, your life insurance information, marriage, passport, driver's licenses, all those important documents, and carry those in a water or fire safe. Okay, so make sure you have those taken care of. Extra things, blankets, emergency blankets, flashlights, weather radios. Just think, if I have to go without power for 3 or 4 days, what I'm taking with me, is it going to help me survive during that time period to where I can get to a place with electricity? Or if I can't, can I function with this, while I'm there? So those are the things, those are basic things. There's more. Those are basic things that I recommend if you're evacuating.
Okay, let me make sure that we have this list so that y'all can take this list, post it, and say, hey, I learned it when I was listening to Mia Talks Hurricane Preparedness with the David Pence Allstate team. David, we have water, meals, like the MRE items that you can take with you, making sure that you have medication, making sure that you have all of your important paperwork, that you have cash accessible as well, and to have that in a water, fire resistant, accessible place for your family, in addition to blankets, if it's pet needs, things like that as well. Is that a good starter list that we're all checking off?
It is, and a radio as well, weather radio. And they sell radios where you actually have a hand crank on them, so you don't have to worry about the batteries. But if you do have one that takes batteries, obviously make sure you have a lot of batteries. A first aid kit. Always important to have your first aid kit with you, and so it's important to do that. One of the things I crack up when I see on the list, but it says duct tape. It says you will be surprised what you may need, and so bring that duct tape with you. That's for guys. That's our main tool anyway, right? And you may also consider waterproof matches, gloves, if you have a Coleman stove, that sort of thing, take that with you as well. So.
Okay, I want to get into the priorities need to be protection and not price when we're thinking about coverages, including making sure that you have your hurricane coverages for your home or for your business. Can you explain to everyone that's watching, because we're in a time where we're at maximum stress already. So how far in advance do I need to be sitting and talking with you about these coverages? How do I know how much in coverages that I need to ensure that my home or my office will be okay in a hurricane? And that's not even touching flood, which we're going to get into, because that's a completely different conversation. Am I correct?
Well, it's a fantastic conversation, Mia. And the main thing is that we tell people at our agency that price is certainly an important item, but it's not the only thing. And in our industry, I think in the last 10 years, we've done a great thing about selling price. But what we need to be concerned with is coverage, because those people down that's affected by Sally today, and those people several weeks ago, then the other hurricanes that came through, when they were looking at damage done to their house, my question is, were they thinking about the price that they paid, or were they worrying about the coverage that they had? And so the best way to do that is talk to your agent, talk to your insurance agent that you're paying those premiums to, because ultimately the agent's selling you a promise, right? And so you need to talk to your agent beforehand. You should be going in for an insurance review just like you do your physical. Go in for an insurance review every 2 years and go over your policy. Make sure that you know that you have what you think you have. There's a lot of policies, especially in the coastal region, that may have storm deductibles. And when Matthew hit in 2016, that's the first time I think people found out that they had as high as a 10% storm deductible. So while they were thinking that they were going to have a $1,000 deductible, some people end up having thousands of dollars worth of deductible. How would they alleviate that? Talk to their agent. There's some great agents in Savannah, super insurance agents. Talk to your agent in advance and go through your coverages.
So, I think that just telling people to do an insurance coverage review, because I think, especially when you're so busy and you do have so many other things that you're having to adapt right now, when's the last time you've done that? Just asking that really simple question of, what are my coverages? What do I need? Maybe you've improved upon your property. Maybe something's changed, and just having that review done. David, let's hop into, and y'all please hit the comments with all of your questions for David Pence Allstate team about hurricane preparedness. What are some of the top questions you usually from area residents during hurricane season, sir, about what's going on?
Well, number one is trees. We always get a question on trees. I think the question that we get is, if a tree falls from my neighbor's house and falls onto my house, whose claim is it? Or if a tree came over on top of my house.
So whose would it be?
Well, wherever the tree originates. So wherever the tree originates and where it falls is whose claim it is. So if my neighbor's tree falls on my house and does damage or destroys my house, it's actually my claim. Okay. And so that's what you look at. And it's unfortunate that a tree falls and does that. But, if it falls on your fence, if it falls on your house, if it falls in your yard, it's your claim. So that's the number one that we get. Number two that we get is, what type of water is covered? If the water comes in my house from the wind blowing it in, or from a tree limb making a hole in my roof, is that covered by homeowner's policy, or is that covered by flood insurance? We get that all the time. And the easiest way to think about that is, if the water comes down from the sky and it goes into your house and it hasn't hit the ground yet, however it comes in, whether it's from wind or from a tree or from a hole, that's a homeowner's claim. But once that water hits the ground and it's an oversaturation, and Angela will talk about that in the future here in a minute, but if it's an oversaturation of groundwater, ditch water, drain, stream, lake, that's going to be a flood policy. And not everyone carries flood. We hear all the time, and Angela will talk about this, but we hear all the time, I'm not in a flood zone, so I don't need flood insurance. I was in Louisiana when the 67,000 homes flooded. I was down there, And I would say probably a large percentage, 25 to 30%, did not have flood insurance, and they had water, some of them up in their kitchens. And so just because the federal government says you're not in a flood zone, that doesn't mean your house won't flood. So it's very important to have that flood insurance.
So you just me.
Again?
I'm like, oh, I'm not in a flood zone. I'm not in a flood zone. I get flood coverage after this conversation.
Yeah, we hear it all the time. I'm not in a flood zone. I don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it won't rain at your house. You know.
Well, and I mean, and just look at the realities of our daily weather right now, and that's not even, and we're not even an actual hurricane. Just not knowing what any of the tropical effects or things like that could cause. I know another really important question is, hey, I just went to Publix and loaded up $500 worth of food in my refrigerator, and now I've got to evacuate. What in the world am I going to do since I just spent $500, just bought all this fresh food and everything for my family? Right. What happens to refrigerated food and this? You have to go through an evacuation.
Well, it depends on the company and depends on the policy on how much that food coverage there is for that. But and it also depends on the company on whether or not they waive your deductible. But that falls under a clause that if you have a mandatory evacuation and the county says you must evacuate, a lot of times with a lot of companies that will trigger a coverage that will give you sometimes $500 for food allowance in your freezers. Some companies are $750. It just depends. And that is when you get back. You can actually, if your company allows it, you can file a claim on your policy that will replace that food that's been in your freezer that you've lost.
Let's get into, David, real personal examples of things that you've done for Savannahans post-hurricanes that just tell the story of how critical it is to make sure everyone's being cared for, sir.
Well, I think when I got in this business, you know, I had, and it's been a long time ago, 29 years, but I wanted to have a business that people knew that, you know, I was selling a promise and I was there for them. And so when Hurricane Matthew hit, and that's the best example because my agency had about 438 claims within about 36 hours. And when I would go, we ran around the houses to look and see because it was mandatory evacuation. People weren't here. And we were able to get to their houses. I had pre-printed a list of all my homeowners. And so a lot of times I would be in their driveway and I would give them a call on their cell phone and say, hey, you have no damage, or I'm at your house and you actually have damage, a tree is on your property. I carry with me a list of contractors, and I've already got the contractor that's coming out to cut that tree off your property with your permission, of course, or if to give you a quote on what it's going to be to get your property repaired. You know, ultimately, that's what people pay for. We can, as agents, we can say that people are paying for price, but they're paying for service. And at the time, if we do our job, we're there for people when they need us. And that's just ultimate responsibility. That's my whole team here. That's what we're about. We love our insureds. We love the fact they put their trust and confidence in us. And we take that as a responsibility. We give all our insureds our cell number because, you know, when you're having that loss, the least thing that you want to do is call in their number and talk to them. Or, you know, you want to give them
and they can actually connect with, exactly. They can connect with your team, 912-961-9617, actually have these conversations with you. I'm sure. Thank you, Sawyer, from SEMA for hopping on and saying thank you so much for this great information to the Pence Allstate team. We've covered a full preparedness list. So if your family is asked to leave your area to evacuate, we've covered a list, and you can go back and play that list that David started with earlier in the talk and share. We also talked about understanding the different coverages that are necessary for your home or your business. If you're a business owner that's watching this, these are conversations that you need to be having and budgeting for, checking your insurance coverage. And again, the leading priority can't be price. It has to be protection. And when we're living in a time of talking about safety so much, understanding having the best coverages, because that, I think people don't understand that they need insurance until they really need insurance. So, yeah. David Pence, thank you for my time. I know that I've got all of you on here, so and then bring Angela up to talk about flood insurance and how floods impact our area. And again, as you heard David Pence say, even if you don't live in a flood zone, right? You go, wait a minute. And I thought I did a good job in not living in a flood zone because I've been through flooded property before. You still need flood coverage. So, and again, David, you talked about cleaning out your gutters. When Savannah gutters get backed up, guess what happens? Immense floods, right? You're talking about you can't drive through them. There's a story, I've got Henry Plumbing on here, you know, where Henry Plumbing literally had to drive someone out of a major flood on a street. So it's a reality, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, Angela, I'm going to turn it over to you. David, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I said all those things are important for sure. And then again, make sure and talk to your agent. That's the highest thing we would recommend to you. Do it before the storm because, you know, during the storm, that agent may be evacuating as well. So now's the time. I think I heard this morning, there's still like 5 other storms out there moving through the Atlantic. So make sure you talk to your agent while you can. And thank y'all, everybody.
Awesome. And you can, again, you guys connect. Thanks for being on. Congratulations again on the huge honor. All right, Angela and Tammy, let me go ahead and have you, Angela, talk with me, please, about flood coverages. And let's go ahead and talk about what we need to know when it comes to.
Oh, I think you just froze up, Mia. Flood coverages, and what was the rest of your sentence?
Let's take on flood coverages and what we want people to know about what they should be asking about when it comes to flood coverage for their property or their business, and things that they need to know about water from roof or from the ground.
Okay, so I think David kind of covered the from the roof or the ground issue and separated that between the hazard homeowners insurance policy and then the flood. But we can elaborate a little bit more as we kind of go along if there's a question that comes up. So the first thing I would say that you need to know about flood insurance is everybody's in a flood zone. It doesn't matter if it's a C zone, an X zone, A, B, what have you. Everybody's in a flood zone. There's a difference between the lower risk and the higher risk. The higher risk ones are the ones that if you have a mortgage, your mortgage company is going to require you to have that flood insurance. If you're in the lower risk flood zone, the X and the C zones, it is lower risk, but that does not mean that you can't flood or you can't have a storm surge come through. One really good example of what you would think would have flooded is a house on Tybee that's on a slab, 1-story house on this end of Tybee. Then you have virtually a 3-story house on the other end of Tybee. You've got the bottom floor that's on piers, and then 2 stories above that's the living space. So during the 2016 hurricane, that 3-story house, 10 feet up, the water's all the way up there. It's flooded. It's good. Then you've got this 1-story house over here that's on a slab, didn't even touch it. So, you know, you've got to look at the risk. It could have been the opposite situation. You never know. And so having that flood insurance policy in place will give you that peace of mind that you need. And honestly, it's really not that expensive, max $550 for someone that's not in a special flood hazard area.
For protecting your home and the property and the things inside of it, I think that peace of mind, that's like a drop in the bucket, I would imagine. And that's on Tybee. So I can't think, you're thinking about, well, how do you gauge if you're near marsh or if you're near the ocean, or like you said, if you're not in a flood zone? That's, again, taking the time to just be prepared for worst case scenarios are so important. Are there any other specific questions I should be asking about flood coverage? How long in advance do I need to have flood coverage? in order for it to be in effect? Like, I'm building a new home right now, I'm buying a new home right now, or I don't have flood coverage. What's that timeline?
Okay, so that's going to depend on if you are going to have a loan or if you're going to pay cash on the house. If you're going to pay cash on the house, there's automatically a 30-day waiting period before coverage will take effect. So if you know exactly when your house is going to be done being built or roundabout, and you're paying cash for it, you can go ahead and pay for that policy and get that 30-day wait started. Don't wait till it's done, because then you've got another 30-day wait because you waited that long. If you have that mortgage or you're refinancing, any type of loan process is going into effect, there is not a 30-day wait. However, if there is a storm sitting out there, they could put a moratorium on us, block us from binding policies. So you want to make sure that you get that policy in place as soon as you know that you're wanting to get coverage.
That's good to know. I did not know that you could, because especially with interest rates being so low, and I can imagine people are doing a lot of refinancing right now, that to add on additional coverage, know that there's no wait. That probably, like, that kills two birds in one stone. You're doing your refinance, add the flood, carry on with your life, correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hop into Tammy. Let's just take on coverages. What we need people to know right now when it comes to home, auto, accounts, it is Life Insurance Awareness Month, and having life insurance, that matters for so many reasons. So I'm just gonna turn it over to you, Tammy, to take on some of the different coverages that we need to make sure that we have and to keep our family safe, please.
Okay, sure. So, obviously during hurricane season is when most people think about the hurricane coverage. It's also referred to as named storm or tropical cyclone. So again, you just want to make sure that you understand what you have. You want to make sure you understand that wording. You want an agent that will sit down with you and explain those things to you, because there is a difference, or there can be a very big difference. Not all wind and hail is the same. Some policies, when they say wind and hail, is everything from, the little windstorm that brought some hail all the way through Hurricane Matthew or Hurricane Sally or Tropical Cyclone Michael. But some policies, when they say wind and hail, they're only talking about the little storm and it's not hurricane. So again, just really important that you understand the difference. There can be different deductibles for each of those. So you want to make sure that you do have those reviews and understand that. And because homeowners policies, as Angela talked about, cover water but not flooding, you want to make sure that you have that covered separately. That's very important. A lot of people don't know that, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. So as far as auto, when we talk about storms, it's important to have comprehensive coverage. People think that full coverage means full coverage. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're covered fully for everything. So if you don't have comprehensive coverage and you're trying to evacuate and you drive through some flood water and your car floods out, there's no coverage for that. So you just need to make sure that you, yes, have the proper coverage.
Let's just take that in for a moment, what you just said there, Tammy. That's like your home is flooding, you're trying to drive out of the flood, your car gets basically destroyed in the flood, and if you don't have the right coverages, this is why I'm doing this show, because there's no judgment. There are so many stories of the person who's like, I'm throwing all my pets and someone in the car and I think I can drive through it, and then something goes terribly wrong and you're not safe, and you are the most valuable part of this conversation. But you've got to have people who are already thinking way ahead of you, who are already thinking, okay, if the super worst happens, like you said, comprehensive and clarifying, because I don't know, Tammy, how many people have ever just had someone clarify, okay, right, just because you have full does not mean you have comprehensive. So, okay, can we just very basically break down between the different layers of coverage that one can carry when it comes to auto?
Sure. So you have your liability. That's what you have to carry to have a tag on your car. That's what's required by law to drive a vehicle in pretty much, I think, any state now. But So, and you have different limits of liability. So the state minimum for Georgia is 25, 50, 25, which if you've ever had a bad car accident, if you work in a hospital, you know that 25,000 can be used very, very, very quickly. So you want to make sure that you have the right liability limit for your situation, not just the state minimum and what the state requires. And then you have your collision. So if you hit anything other than an animal, that's considered collision. Whether you're backing up and go into a ditch, whether you hit another vehicle, whether you hit a light pole, coverage. It can be one car or several cars. Then you've got your comprehensive, which is a tree falling on your car, flooding, vandalism, theft, broken windshields. Uninsured motorists, that's another very important one. We never sell a policy without putting uninsured motorist on it. It's just, I feel like anyone would be foolish not to carry that coverage. Unfortunately, even though it's a law, you have to have it. There are a lot of uninsured motorists out there. And then you've got some optional coverages like rental and towing, which can be very, very important. Yeah, just know what you have.
Thank you. Just understanding, again, having something to clarify. If you hit an animal, if a tree falls on your car, how do you know? Because what if a tree fell on your car during a hurricane, tropical storm? So having conversations with the David Pence Allstate. Let's get into, Tammy, small business owners. What are some things that we want them to be thinking about when it comes to insurance coverages? Again, when people are mentally so strapped, just trying to keep their day-to-day business operations going on, what should they be thinking about when it comes to coverages, please?
Right. Well, with the business especially, there's some extra coverages that as a homeowner, when we're talking about your house, you don't necessarily need those. But when you're talking about a business owner, there are lots of coverages that, a policy may or may not cover. Things like business interruption. If a hurricane comes through and you lose power or you have damage to your building and you can't perform your business, and so you're losing money every day that you're not in your business, there are some policies, some companies, coverages out there that can help protect you for that. You want to make sure you've got the right liability. If someone trips coming in your door and decides to sue you, or you make them mad as part of your services, and, hire an attorney and decide to sue you, you don't want to lose your business or your home because you didn't have the right coverage. So those are just a couple of things to think about.
And I think, like you said, knowing that business interruption insurance exists. I'm sure, again, in all of the things that you're budgeting for each month or budgeting for your business, and when you're looking at overall cost, knowing that if you had to, and obviously in the time of COVID-19, when so many businesses had to shut down, but if you had to leave because of a hurricane, that there would be support for you. And I just can't say thank you enough, Tammy and Angela, for taking time for us to take it from a personal and also a business perspective. And let me hop back, Angela, for just a second for small business owners when it comes to flood coverage. Is it kind of the same timeline that they need to start it early in the process, or it's a 30-day wait, or how does that work for business owners when they're adding?
Yeah, the rules are still the same as far as the 30-day wait if there's not a loan transaction taking place.
Okay, so 30 days is generally the rule when it comes to flood,
Yes.
either residential or commercial, typically.
Yes.
Tammy, life insurance awareness month. I know that you're going to say, if you have a mortgage, you ought to have life insurance. Let's talk about especially how you can tie your life insurance to an additional policy to make sure that you have that coverage for you, please.
Well, yeah, mortgage protection is a big one. We talk to people every day that they just don't think about that. You're buying your first home, or maybe it's not your first home, maybe it's your third home, but you're buying a home and maybe you're married, maybe you have dependents. If something happens to you, what's going to happen to them? Are they going to be able to stay in that house? And, many times the answer is no. if there's not life insurance to provide, to pay that mortgage or to take care of those final expenses, then, people would have to be displaced potentially. So, it's just really important, especially if you have assets, if you have a family, if you have anyone depending on you, that you make sure that those needs are taken care of. And again, just like with our, property and casualty, there's so many great life insurance agents out there. We have a great life professional that takes care of that for our clients. So we try and get them over to him, anytime possible, especially if we know there's a need, there's a gap that they don't have any.
And again, as we talk about protection versus price, I do feel like usually a life insurance policy is pretty affordable. When you look at the average cost, I believe, Pence Allstate can correct me here, I think the average cost of a funeral is at least $10,000. So being able to, the cost of knowing that your expenses when you're no longer here are taken care of, versus what that looks like out of pocket if something should happen. That's what Life Insurance Awareness Month is all about. So having again those conversations, and just a quick disclaimer that anything that we are talking about, you do want to follow up with your own insurance agent or reach out to the Pence Allstate team at 912-961-9617. I think this is a good segue into changes and customer support, Angela and Tammy, during COVID-19. What are some of the things that Allstate has done? What are some of the things that people are watching can go, okay, that's something that I could do to kind of look at insurance in my household right now? Can we talk about some of the things that y'all have done during COVID-19, please?
Yeah, we had for 3 months in a row, Allstate gave the place payback, which was essentially to help the clients that are sitting home. They're working from home. They're homeschooling from home. They're not driving as much. The Allstate is actually saving money because there's less claims. You're not wrecking your cars as much. So Allstate wanted to give back to their clients, and that might not have been as much as some clients may have wanted. Once you add all that money together, it is a huge amount that they actually gave back to our clients. And some of these clients, that little bit of money they really needed. In addition, we also have the option to pause the bills. Our special pay plan, and that's for 90 days. So the way that works is, let's just say this month things are looking bad. You're not sure if you're going to be able to pay this month, maybe even not next month. So we will pause your bill for 90 days. That bill's there at the end of the 90 days, but you can pay that at your convenience. A little bit here, a little bit there, just as much as you can. And that's kind of giving our clients that little bit of extra flexibility that they need.
What about, I've heard there is a driving link that parents and actually young adults can apply or take the defensive driving link, right? And this could potentially save them money on their insurance. Am I right, Tammy and Angela?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have right now, we're offering a defensive driver class that either adults or young drivers can take. The discount is good for 3 years. So you only have to take it once to get that discount, for a long period of time. The nice thing about it is that they can do it from home. So they can, they're at home on their computers, kids are schooling from home. They can get on for 30 minutes and work on that and then go do something else, do their classwork. You can get in and out of it, come back to it. So it's not like you have to sit there for, so many hours at one time. They can work on it at their convenience and still be able to get that discount. And it's a good discount.
Where do find the link to do that? I think we'll definitely put it in the talk once we wrap here, but is there a place on the website if we send them to to find the defensive driving link?
I don't think it's on the website. It has to be given through the individual agent, but they're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we're happy to.
Yeah, it makes charges only $13 with our discount code.
Yes. which is what
3 years of savings. 3 years of savings simply for being a good driver. We're into that. Everybody's not a good driver, but let's just assume that everybody that's watching this is a good driver. Again, no judgment, but reach out to the David Pence Allstate team. You can see their number there, 912-961-9617. So now I've been busy listening to this talk, Angela and Tammy. I listened to David go over the hurricane preparedness checklist. I listened to you tell me that even if I don't live in a flood zone, I should make sure that I have some type of flood coverage. If I'm a small business owner, that you offer everything from business interruption insurance to different policies. If you're building a new home, what you need to know. If you're refinancing your insurance options, I'm ready to talk to one of you at the David Pence Allstate insurance team. I can contact you at 912-961-9617. But what else do I need to bring to the table as far as my current policies, my current home status, to have a conversation with you about hurricane coverage, flood coverage, my home coverage, life insurance? Let's go through some of the things you're going to ask the customer.
So after we review the coverages that you already have, we're going to put a proposal together. We may not necessarily give you an equal comparison, because if you're underinsured or overinsured, we're not going to quote you that. And we're going to tell you exactly what's wrong.
Pause there, Anna. What does it mean to be overinsured? I've never even heard anyone say, what does that mean?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's just say you have a 908 square foot house, little itty bitty square, and $200,000 in coverage. Why do you need $200,000 in coverage to rebuild a 900 square foot house? And I've seen it.
Okay. You might be talking to someone that's tuning in. You might have gone, wait a minute, that might be me. Okay.
Well, honestly,
so
that is like if you're in Ardsley Park or even the ones that they built near Broughton Street, it's a high-end area that's in high demand, and they're going to sell those for a lot more money, but it's not going to cost that much to rebuild it. So why are you insuring it for that kind of money?
you just want to make sure you have replacement costs.
Hold on. That's gold. Okay, clarify that for everyone. I don't care what the value of your house is. This is again why you share this talk, because you could have a $500,000 or $1 million or a $90,000. It doesn't, whatever your investment is on your home. Let's talk about the difference between the value and equity of your home versus the actual replacement, which is the insurance. Can you all clarify that for everyone?
Yeah, so the value of your house is usually what you're going to see on the appraisal. That also includes your land. It also includes what everything is being sold for around your house, which has brought that value of your house up. So this is also what you can sell your house for. What we are going to insure you for is the replacement cost, which is only what it's going to cost to rebuild your house according to the year built, the square footage, the components in your house, what the exterior construction of your house is, and so on.
That's the replacement coverage. That's what your insurance is covering. So again, as you heard Angela say, you might live in a high demand neighborhood, but that's not what's going to factor into your replacement cost. Ladies, I think, I feel like I've been the grill of insurances today. So many things, but we stopped at being overinsured. What are some of the other things I'm going to ask people for when they start with David Pence Allstate?
Well, we do need, because insurance is a little bit credit based, and that does throw a lot of people because, I've been in the industry for 29 years. 20 years ago, we didn't ask for your date of birth. We didn't need your driver's license number. We didn't need your social. But as an industry, so it's not just Allstate, but insurance as a whole has moved to a little bit credit-based when it comes to insurance. So, we are going to ask some of those personal things like we need your date of birth. We need to know if you're married. We need to know how long you've lived at this location. We will need your driver's license number. We can run a general quote without some of those things, but in order to give you a good concrete price, there is some information that we will need. So, and like I said, that does throw some.
Does it ding my credit, or is it just a general inquiry?
No, it's basically, if you think about it this way, we're going in through the back door and looking at the credit that's already been pulled. We've talked to mortgage companies all the time, because when you apply for a home loan, your mortgage company will say, don't run any credit. Don't go open any lines of credit. You'll hurt your credit. And so we get that question all the time. Are you going to hit my credit? And, mortgage companies have confirmed this. No, it does not do that. So it doesn't affect you negatively.
Excellent. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the contact information here for you to call the David Pence Allstate Insurance team and tell them, congratulations, named the best of the Coastal Empire. Again, another big round of applause and likes and hearts, because y'all have been serving our area for so long. And I can't say thank you enough on behalf of the audience for just taking time to make us smarter, better, safer, more informed, to, as you heard David Pence, the founder of David Pence Allstate Insurance Team, say, do an insurance checkup just like you go to the doctor, just like upgrade your phone. Do an insurance checkup. Call them and have that conversation. Know that they're going to look at your credit. Know that you might be underinsured or overinsured. And it's okay to bring them your questions. There's no question that's too dumb. There's no question that's too small. They're going to talk to you. So I encourage you again to share this talk with every person that you know, homeowners, business owners, people who are buying their first home, people who are buying their third property, because it's the very real of hurricane preparedness and insurance coverages. Follow the David Pence team easily on Facebook. You can have conversations with Angela, Tammy, and David Pence. I do want to say a huge thank you to each of you who've watched this talk, who've shared it, who have made these conversations, just allowing me to help support others. We're going to be back at it next week. So Tuesday at 4 p.m., we're taking on mental health. We're going to have 2 licensed experts sitting to support your mental health, your family's mental health, and with everything that's going on in the world, how to make sure that you're doing okay and how to have those check-ins with yourself and others. So please tune in again Tuesday, 4 o'clock. If you missed any old talks, it's easy. You visit miatalks.com and you can rewatch talks from season 1. You can also rewatch this talk and share it as much as you want here on Facebook or on YouTube at Mia Talks. Thank you to Henry Plumbing Company. Again, I've seen them rescue Savannah out of floods. They've buried people's pets. You name it. If they can get the job done, they will at 912-352-9827. And to the David Pence Allstate Insurance Team. As you heard David say, 430 plus claims during a hurricane in 36 hours, and literally going door to door of those people that he insured to say, hey, your house is okay. You deserve the best, and that's exactly why we do those talks. So check out the David Pence Allstate team. And again, Angela and Tammy, stand by. We're going to sign off and say goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for having us, Mia.
Thank you.
You got it. Bye, y'all.